Hello, crafty friends. Welcome back. Today, I'm going to be crafting with Spellbinders card kit of the month for February, and this one is called Spring Delight. I'm excited to be creating some springtime cards, finally. So let's start out by showing you what's inside this month's card kit. And also, I read through the comments you left from last month's card kit. I'm going to respond and talk about that a little bit as we go along. So here is the kit contents page, and it also gives you some examples of a few cards that you can create. And now you get 8 card bases and 8 envelopes as opposed to the 10. And here's the adhesive, the double-sided as well as the foam. And you get some really pretty confetti pieces this month, multi-sizes, and there's not the hole in the middle, which I'm glad. I like the confetti pieces as opposed to the sequins with the holes. Let's pull out the rest of the stuff. You get a sticker pack. Let's see how many sheets are inside. Since the kits no longer include stamps or sentiment stamps, it looks like they're giving you a bunch of sentiments in these stickers, as well as really cute little images. There's a lot of gold foiling on those. You get some puffy sticker sentiments. And then you always get the chipboard stickers, and you get 2 pages of these. The kit has a very soft pastel springtime vibe to it, which I love. And here is the cardstock. So they do cut this down for you. It is 5.5 by 4.25. These are A2 sized panels. You get dark blue and light blue, pink, bright yellow, and green. And I actually really do miss the full-sized sheets because sometimes I like to make slimline cards or mini slimline cards. And I know a lot of you mentioned that in the comments as well. It seems like they're just trying to contain everything within the smaller pouch. And then here is the pattern paper. It's single-sided, and you get 20 sheets as opposed to 40, and you get 1 of each pattern. I actually find I'm not missing the full pad of pattern paper because I always had a lot left over, and then I have to store that. So I actually do like the reduced amount of pattern paper, but as usual, you get some very eclectic patterns, and they're all really pretty. Now let's get into the die cut shapes. The die cut shapes is one of my favorite things from the card kit. And you still get 2 of each, and you get quite a big bunch of these die cut shapes. So I'm going to quickly kind of rifle through these for you so you get an idea of what's included this month. I don't think I got a single comment saying that you are loving the new card kit. And I'm really missing the stamps and dies as well. But I'm thinking they have so many die club kits that they come out with each month, like the small die of the month, large die of the month, and now the stitching die of the month, and all of these add-ons. So maybe they were thinking that they aren't necessary anymore. I don't know. But let me just stop here to show you the add-on for the month. This one is really cute. It's called Spring Tea. And it is a separate purchase from the kit. For my last card, I'll be creating a card with this cute little set. And I was also going to say that they do have a clear stamp and die club of the month, which I'm sure you all know that. But maybe that's another reason why they decided to stop putting stamps and dies in the card kits. And who knows, maybe they will come back with a more expanded card kit of the month option. I know a lot of you had mentioned that in the comments. So we'll see how this plays out. The kit really does seem to be geared toward beginner crafters or crafters who like to take their kits on the go. Okay, so I'm starting card number 1 here. I put down my yellow cardstock first, and now I'm layering on a couple of patterns. And then I really loved this circle die cut shape with the lemons. I'm going to pop this up with some foam squares and center that on the card. My sentiment comes from the chipboard stickers, and it says a whole lot of happy. So this is more of a note card that one can send out anytime. And here's a close-up look. I added a few green gems on my circle die cut. And here's a look at the inside. I did decorate all of the insides to my cards today. Card number 2 is my favorite. So I loved all of the single blooms die cut shapes. I pulled out a bunch of those and I'm going to use them all over a piece of pattern paper. This is similar to my pattern stamping that I used to do with the stamps that they would include. But this time I'm going to mimic that look with all of these die cut shapes. I'll adhere these down with some dot liner just so I can peel them back up if I need to. And I'm trying to place them as close together as I can. Once I have all of these pieces adhered down, I'll flip this panel over and trim off the overhang. Just kind of clean up my edges. I'm going slow so that I don't accidentally cut into the thin pattern paper. And then once I have all of my edges cleaned up, I'm going to die cut a rectangle out of the middle of this. I'll tape this in place so it doesn't shift. And I'll take this off camera and run it through my die cutting machine. And now we have a frame and an inner piece. Let me peel off the low tack tape on either side. So I have another piece of the bright yellow cardstock that I'm going to be using between these two pieces. The rectangle die I used comes from the Fluted Classics rectangle dies. I'll start with the frame, and I'm just going to use more dot liner to adhere this down onto one of the card bases. I'll line it up to the corners, and I'm being kind of careful because I don't want to wrinkle this thin weight paper. Next, to fill in this gap, I'm going to use some scrap pattern paper just to glue down in the middle. And now for the yellow cardstock, I'll just use more dot liner for this. This is a little bit larger than the piece that I die cut, so it'll have a pretty yellow border to it once I glue that down. And actually, I'm going to pop it up with some foam strips. I put a lot down just to add some even dimension because, again, this is very lightweight cards or pattern paper. And then I'll center that, making sure that the die cut shapes line up. My sentiments come from the sticker pack, and I also wanted to give these a border with some navy blue cardstock. So I'm just cutting them out with some scissors. And this sentiment says just a hello, and then the one underneath that says enjoy every day. And I'm popping those up with some foam squares. Added a few gold gems. And here's a look at the second note card, as well as a peek at the inside. And now on to card number 3. I'll start off with some light pink cardstock. And this will cover my white card base completely. And then I'll put down a piece of the navy cardstock. And this will leave a border at either side, so you'll see some of the pink cardstock showing through. The double-sided adhesive in this kit is fabulous, but I don't use it just for the sake of time and the ease of editing these videos. So let's put down the navy cardstock and then a piece of pattern paper, again leaving a border at either side. I'm coming in with Midnight Snack ink from Simon Hurley, and I wanted to add a little bit of ink behind my die cut shapes. I love this little crate with the flowers growing out of it. And I'm going to glue some flowers at either side, and I'll just glue those down flat. But this little crate of flowers I popped up with some foam squares. I'll peel off the release paper and center that. One of my sentiments is going to come from the sheet of puffy stickers. It's just going to say bloom. These are pretty sticky, so I decided not to add liquid glue behind them. And then I'll use one of the smaller sentiments from this sheet of stickers that says happy, and I'll just put that on top of the crate. I'll also use one of the hearts. I decided on the mustard yellow heart. We'll just put that up in the corner. And this card is done. Very simple, but another note card that you can send out for any occasion, but probably mostly spring. And there's the inside. On to card number 4. I always love it when they include houses and tree die cut shapes, so that's what I'm going to use for this card. I'll put another piece of the navy blue cardstock down with a large white border around it, and another piece of yellow cardstock that I cut out into a fishtail. This is a piece of corrugated cardstock, so it has some texture to it. They used to have this in the shop, but they no longer carry it, I'm afraid. But I just love this stuff because it does add some really fun texture. So let me cut off the overhang. And this little piece here is so cute, I didn't want to waste it. So I'm just going to stick that inside the card, right there. So my house is going to go down flat with some liquid glue. Where the house hangs over the side of the corrugated cardstock, I do come back in with a little scrap piece of yellow cardstock and tuck that underneath it, just so it's the same height. And I do the same thing with the tree. I add another piece of cardstock where it overhangs onto the navy cardstock. The sentiment comes from the sentiment stickers, and it says, "My happy place is with you." And then I'm adding some red gems. These are the smallest in the pack to look like little apples or flowers on this tree. So very simple card. And here's what the inside looks like. I added another sentiment sticker and a die cut shape. On to card number 5. I really love this particular piece of pattern paper with the circles and the stripes of circles. So I cut that down a little bit smaller than my card base. And then I'm going to glue 2 die cut shapes together just to give it a little more sturdiness. I'll put some foam squares behind this and center it on a green circle. The sentiment I just love. It says, "Your kindness is beautiful." And this is a chipboard sticker, so I'm going to use some liquid glue and adhere it down at the top left corner. Then I can use liquid glue to put down my circle. I left a little gap between the foam squares behind my floral piece. So I'm just going to thread a piece of twine behind there. Let me cut it down just a little bit more. And I'll tie a bow. This will add some texture to the card and kind of a pop-up element. And I'll just make that a little bit smaller and trim the ends. I'm using 3 different colors of confetti pieces, and I'll glue those down around the flowers. And this card is done, so super simple. And then on the inside, I used a rather large piece of the leftover pattern paper, but I'm figuring I can just use, my black pen to write over the pattern paper. It's pale enough where I can get away with that, I think. Now on to the bonus card where I'm using the add-on dies. This one again is called Spring Tea. And I also used the 3D embossing folder of the month. This month it is called Spring Burst. It's so beautiful. It has all of these gorgeous flowers on it. It's hard to pick up on camera, especially with this white cardstock. But I'm going to glue a panel of that in the center of another white panel. The large white panel, I used the Fluted Classics rectangles again. And then I'm going to stack up a bunch of these darling teacups. My first teacup I glued onto a piece of gold mirror cardstock, and it gives a little touch of shimmer behind the sentiment. And I'm adding a piece of white cardstock behind the pattern paper just to add more stability to the pattern paper. And I'll also layer up the teacup handles. I also cut out a bunch of flowers off camera Spellbinders makes the most beautiful floral dies. And this set came with the stems and leaves and flower centers as well. But first, let's put together our bunny. I'm going to glue on one of the ears behind the front ear. And then I'll add glue to its neck and attach it to a teacup. It also has a little paw that kind of tucks over the side of the top of the teacup. I'll glue that down next. There's a little slit in there so it fits just perfectly. So cute. I'm going to use some of the double-sided adhesive behind its eye and its cheek so that I can pop these pieces back in. I did color them in with a pink Copic marker and a black Copic marker. Then I'll use the same pink Copic marker, this is an RV11, to color in its little nose. Sorry, my head gets in the way there. Such a teeny tiny nose. Now I can attach the teacup handle on the opposite side. Since my card panel is white and my bunny is white, I decided to come in with some Tattered Rose Distress Oxide ink and put a little bit of color on this panel. Tattered Rose is one of my favorite Distress Oxide inks. It's just such a soft, subtle pink. And now we can start stacking up the teacups. I'm putting foam behind each and every one, but I am leaving a little gap in the center of each teacup so that I can tuck them inside each other. And then for the teacup at the top, I put foam behind the bunny as well. And I'll tuck that in the third teacup. And now for the teacup handles, these are going to kind of go down flat. So I'm going to pick up the teacup, just gently peel it up and then tuck it under the foam adhesive. So most of them will be on the right side, but the green teacup handle I'm going to put on the left side. And gluing them down flat like this just adds a touch of dimension to this little scene. Okay, and now for a few flowers. I'm just going to put flowers around the bottom teacup. And the cardstock that I cut these flowers from is the Dahlia Pink. They've been out of this color for months and months, and I was down to scraps, and they finally got it in the shop, and I ordered 2 packs just because I love this Dahlia Pink cardstock so much. And then I cut some out with the lighter pink. It's called Pink Sand. Let's put a center in the middle of this one. I'll add a few leaves. I'll use my tweezers here just to pick up this small piece and tuck it behind the smallest flower. Then I'm going to add another flower just down flat and tuck it behind the teacup. But we'll still add a center to this one. I was super excited to get my hands on more of the Dahlia Pink cardstock. I wanted to add a little bit of shading to my bunny, so I'm coming in with a Copic marker. This is an N1, and add a little bit of shading to its paw and its ears and around its face. After I add the gray, I do come in with the 0 blender marker and just kind of blend it out and soften it a bit. But this will just help to differentiate it a little bit more from the background. I added a few silver gems, and here it is all done. I just love these layered teacups. I used another flower on the inside, and here's a really close-up look at the finished card. Well, thanks so much for joining me today. I hope that you gained some inspiration from these cards, and I hope that you find the time to sit down and create some beautiful cards of your own today. Take care, my crafty friends. Bye.